Oh, that's right. Good evening. We're going to start again for the cameras. I'm Melinda Smith, and I'm among the Palestinian Solidarity community in Albuquerque. And I am going to introduce to you now Rodrigo Rodriguez from the Southwest Organizing Project, who has recently returned from the West Bank, and he will introduce our speaker.
Hey everybody, the anticipation over here was killing me. Hi, so I first want to thank you guys for having me. It's really humbling that you guys would think of me to be a part of this event. I got the opportunity to hang out with Ayman at my office for just a little bit today. Walked him around, talked to him a little bit about what we do at SWAP. So I just want to introduce myself just really quickly and then tell you guys who I am, what I do, and why I was asked to introduce Ayman today. This evening. So I'm Rodrigo Rodriguez. I'm a community organizer at the Southwest Organizing Project. I work specifically on food justice issues. But SWAP is a social justice organization that was founded in 1980. We were founded around kind of principles of environmental justice, racial justice, and our motto is that we work to empower disenfranchised communities in the Southwest to realize racial and economic, gender and racial equality and social and economic justice. Sorry, it's a little bit of a tongue twister. So I work specifically, like I said, on food justice issues. I started Project Feed the Hood with a couple other folks about 5 years ago. At Project Feed the Hood, we work on food sovereignty issues and food justice and food access issues. We specifically work around our community garden, at our farm in the South Valley, and around school gardens to talk to folks about issues of food sovereignty, talk to them about where their food comes from, talk to them about culturally relevant foods, and really talking about like ideas of how you can decolonize your diet and decolonize your food the way that you eat. We found that there's kind of an inherent political nature to food, and the history of the organization is really around environmental justice and around contamination issues. So there's a lot of work that's been done over the years around the Intel issue and some of the contaminants that they put into the water and into the air. There's also a lot of work that's happened around now the Kirtland Air Force Base that you hear about in the news. It's been an issue for 20 years that folks have traditionally worked on. We have a mural down at our office about it. They still haven't cleaned it up, which I think is just amazing. We also have done work traditionally in Mountain View, down in Carlsbad for the WIP site, all over the state. I really got my start at the organization doing youth organizing, talking about policing at the schools and the arming of school security guards, and then ultimately the formation of the Albuquerque Public School Police Force. So, I've done a lot of work around Albuquerque, around New Mexico, just on different issues. I specifically was chosen as a part of a delegation with a group called Grassroots International to go in November to the West Bank to work on the olive harvest. One of the things that we've done, like I was saying, we work on food sovereignty issues, but traditionally SWAP has hosted what we call the Chili Harvest Fiesta for the last 20 years. And the idea was, as it started, was to bring up farmers from southern New Mexico and chili pickers, and to talk to people about this idea of where their chile comes from and the kind of human cost of chile. So this last year, we reestablished our ties with our folks down in southern New Mexico at the Sin Fronteras Organizing Project and at the Border Worker Center in El Paso. The director of that center is Carlos Marentes. Carlos is an amazing organizer who's also the North American rep for La Via Campesina, which is the international farm worker movement and peasant movement. So kind of fast forward, while I'm in the West Bank, one of the groups that we're hanging out with is called UAC, the Union of Agricultural Worker Committees. And they, turns out, are the Arab world rep for La Via Campesina. And so we were there at their seed bank, and I had smuggled some seeds over. I smuggled over some corn, beans, and squash. Anybody that knows anything about agriculture knows the importance of those three crops specifically to each other and to our culture as indigenous people, as Chicanos, as Mexican Americans, as people in the Southwest, and all over the Americas, all over Turtle Island. The significance of corn, beans, and squash together, they call them the three sisters. The three sisters form a symbiotic relationship that allows them to grow well together. Your corn provides a stalk, your squash provides your ground cover, your beans renutriate your soil with nitrogen and other good nutrients. But when they're eaten together and they're consumed together, they form a complete protein. And that's what we mean when we talk about decolonizing your diet. You know, before the colonizers got here, there was no kind of beef or pork or chickens. You know, people sustained themselves off of what they could grow and what they could hunt and catch. And so it was really it's amazing to think about the food sovereignty work we're doing here in New Mexico and what it means to us culturally to maintain a land base, to maintain a water base, and to maintain these traditional life ways, and then go to a place like the West Bank where it's the same struggle. It's just it's very in your face. The forces of colonization that showed up in New Mexico in 1848, that showed up in the 1600s, are the exact same colonization forces that showed up in Palestine in 1948, in 1917, 1967, that show up over there now. It's just an extension of a colonial system that's based around principles of capitalism and white supremacy. So to see it in that way in the West Bank, that's just kind of very in your face, and everything there is just moving so fast. From one day to the next, homes are demolished, tents are demolished, people are moved out, Bedouins are moved out. It looks so much like New Mexico to me, just based off of the historical context like I was just talking about, but also just the humanity of it. People in the West Bank, in that part of the world, are so welcoming and strong and powerful and steadfast, and they have this word that they call sumud, that means steadfastness. And to me, that's what it is, right? It's about struggle, and it's about maintaining a land base, and it's about existing in order to resist. And so when we talk about the connections of those struggles and why liberation in Palestine matters for liberation in New Mexico, it's really important to remember those kind of colonial histories and the way that people are moved off of land in order to keep them from building alternatives, from establishing themselves, from building things that are good. So I'm gonna stop talking because we all came to hear Ayman, you didn't come to hear me. I do wanna applaud him for his work that he does around trauma. I think it's really important to recognize the historical traumas that exist in our communities, that exist in communities of color, that exist in LGBT communities, that exist in all over, especially in places like New Mexico that are still very much feeling colonization, that are very still much colonies of the empire, right? We never really deal with all that stuff. We never deal with these historical traumas of having our land stolen, of having our water contaminated, of having our friends, our brothers, our sisters murdered. We don't deal with those historical traumas as communities because culturally it doesn't happen. In people of color communities, we don't deal with trauma in the way that we think about kind of, traditional mental health and dealing with trauma. And it's also an economic barrier, right? People just can't afford to go to a doctor. So for someone like Ayman to leave his home, to leave his comfort zone, to come to the United States to try to develop himself and try to go back and work on issues in a very human way. What I do at the Southwest Organizing Project is very top level, is very policy based. It's a lot of organizing, and it's grassroots organizing, but it's very up here. When we're talking about trauma and you're working with kids, you're working with families who are literally having their homes demolished on a weekly, monthly, annual basis. It's very human, it's very one-on-one interaction. It's not something I think I could do. So I really applaud you, Ayman. And I had your bio here, but I don't think I'm gonna read it. He's a badass, and that's all you guys need to know. So I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Ayman Nijim.
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me? First and foremost, it is not my native language, so I will slow down so you will understand what I mean. First, it is my humbling honor to be invited by Melinda Smith and by ABQ Center and by Southwest Organizing. And thank you for coming here. And it is my privilege that I can come here. I come to New Mexico and to speak to wonderful people like you that they are interested to know about Palestine, and especially today about Gaza, and especially about trauma healing. So I want to give you a roadmap about my speech, so you can follow up my speech. I will talk about briefly about the historical background, because I think it is very critical to understand or to know the historical background. It is just a brief. And then I will talk about the last 3 wars in Gaza Strip. And then I will go and head to trauma healing and about the mental health status in the Gaza Strip. Sounds good? Yes. Good plan, yeah? So as you know, we 1940. Can we move it this one? Oh, okay. Okay. No, that's fine. Okay. So, okay. Okay. So there's something. Yeah.
Do you want to help hold
Yeah.
your hand?
Yeah. So because I don't want to be stressed out, so I like to move because I am hyperactive. So I know myself.
When you don't want to hold the microphone.
Yeah. So as you know, because I have time limitation and I would love to cover most of my presentation. As you know, in our Palestinian perspective about the Israeli occupation, we, as you know, in 1897 there was a Basel conference in Switzerland, in which 220 Zionist leaders decided to have Palestine as a national state of the Jewish people. This is the history. It was in 1897, and in 1906 there was 3% of the Jewish population in Gaza Strip, and they have Jewish connection to the land. We agree that all of the countries, all of the religions, they have a connection to our land because it is a promised land. But if you look at the history from 1906 until 1936, there were 30% of the Jewish immigration to Palestine and then from 1930 until 1945 because of the Holocaust in Germany and Eastern Europe. So there was a flow of immigration to Palestine. That's why they were 30% in 1948. In 1948, there was a big war. This was a war between Israel and the Arab countries, 7 Arab countries. They said we will defeat Israel, and Israel succeeded in that war, and they won by Haganah Zionist gangs. Haganah is a gang, a Zionist gang. And there are a lot of gangs they were using to kill Palestinians. In 1948, to make everything brief, because it is not the discussion about history today, I'm trying just to give a follow-up, just a brief summary. In 1948, 800,000 Palestinians were expelled from their land, and 532 villages were completely destroyed. Most of I am from Gaza Strip. My family is from Ashdod. Ashdod, which stands for Isdud. Isdud in Arabic, but Ishdod in English language. It has different in Hebrew language. So this is a general background about how we became a refugee from 1948 till now, and that we can't go to where we live, where our great go far grandfather were growing up farms, and they have olive trees, and they have grapes. So we were expelled from our lands in that time, and this is the history. So I was trying to find a similar map, because we have like very detailed maps to show where is Gaza Strip and where is the West Bank, where is Israel, where all of that geographical stuff. As you know, Gaza Strip, if you look at the red here, it is very small. Very small. Gaza Strip is, I was looking into miles, because you know in Palestine we used to use square kilometers, so I just Google it with my friend, so we'll find the miles. So as you know, the Gaza Strip has the highest population density in the world at 7,000 people per 1 square kilometer. And imagine Albuquerque, because it is spread out, as you know, And imagine how the size of Albuquerque in comparison to the size of Gaza Strip, because people should understand Gaza is not a republic. Gaza is not a big city. Gaza is just a small thing, but all of the world are against it. So Gaza population is 1.8 million. The size of Gaza is 139 square miles. Albuquerque is 189.5 square miles. So you will see Albuquerque is more, is bigger than Gaza Strip that you are seeing it. We are, but you guys, we are famous. We are famous than you. Like if you go anywhere, Gaza, I know where is Gaza. Where is Albuquerque? They will not know. Sorry. Yeah, so that's our privilege actually, that everyone knew about us. I hope in good things. And you see Gaza Strip, West Bank. West Bank is bigger than Gaza Strip 3 times. And you go Tel Aviv, you can see, I want to show you. Without microphone. So, you know, this is the West Bank and this is Gaza Strip, and all of this is Israel. That means that Israel has 78%. That Israel has 78% of the Palestinian land, and we have 80% in 1967. So now, after 1 million settlers in the West Bank and 100 outposts in the West Bank, so we have now 14% of the land. That's why I will talk later, and I would love you to ask me in the Q&A about what's the difference between two-state solution and one-state solution, and why there are some people who back two-state solution don't know about what does it mean for Palestinians or for different political factions in Palestine. So we will go to Gaza. This is my lovely place. I have 2 kids and wife there, so it is like a place that has my passion and emotions and everything. So this is Gaza Strip. Just for 1 second, imagine living in this land. As you see, it is very small. We have Mediterranean Sea, and we have steamships. You can't go for fishing for 5 nautical miles. You can't go for fishing, and if you go over 5 nautical miles, you will be killed, and no one, you will be killed, you will be martyred. And you know, we have drones, and I have a slide about drones, about its effects. And before I forget, guys, I have very emotional photos. And please tell me when I have to move. I am so sorry to emotionally disturb you, but we have to speak truth to power, and we have to say things as they are. It is not a joke. It is a human rights issue. So please tell me. I am taking care. I mean, it is in my mind to ask for your permission to show some photos. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And you know, as you know, 1.8 million in Gaza Strip. I just give you a big story, a small story. I live in 1 room and 1 bathroom in my brother's home because it was destroyed in 2009. So if I snore, the neighbor will hear what when I am. So we are in very overpopulated area in 1 square kilometer. 1 square kilometer, guys, I don't know about miles. In 1 square kilometer, we have 6,000 people. In 1 mile, 7,000 people. I've been in Vermont, in all of Brattleboro in Vermont, 12,000 people in a very big place. So guys, you have a lot of place and we don't have. Why they want to come out to us? So as you see, tanks from the land, and we have buffer zones, but it will take too much time to talk about buffer zones that Israel is in the land. They are not allowing the farmers to grow foods. As you see, it is like you will see it is a concentration camp. Yeah. So, yes. Yeah. Before we move forward to Gaza crossing, I want to tell you about just in a sentence that Gaza is a combination of Warsaw Ghetto and a concentration camp. Why I use this? Because in Warsaw Ghetto in 1940 until 1944, the Jewish people who were persecuted in Eastern Europe, they were digging tunnels to bring food to their kids. So it is a Warsaw Ghetto. And it is a concentration camp because people are stranded. They can't move out, in or out. So Gaza crossing, you are not allowed to leave Gaza Strip. My wife and 2 kids, they are trying for 4 months to go outside of Gaza Strip. My mom tries to go to Gaza, to Egypt for medical treatment. She is about to die. And people are dying. People are dying, people are killing by this Holocaust. You can't imagine living in Gaza Strip. It is inhabitable. Look, this woman, they are about to, if you just Google the news today, how many people are in Gaza? They are trying, 30,000 people are trying to leave Gaza for medical treatment. They have no electricity, they have no water, they have nothing to live in. There's no work. It is siege. It was started in 2007. I will talk about it later. So as you see, Egypt sometimes opened the crossing for only 2 days every 3 months. Believe me or not, if you give them a bribe, you will get out of Gaza in this time. And I know this is documented. I say to Egypt that dehumanization and delegitimization. And this is a client state of the colonialism and imperialism and neoliberalism. So as you see, people are trying to take permit letter to Egypt. And if they took permit letters in 1 week or 2 weeks, they are canceled. So it is dehumanization. I can speak 2 hours about my own story when I left Gaza. But I will try to focus on these things that it is very helpful for you to understand about the political situation and the humanitarian situation in Palestine. Okay. So do you know this guy? Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, this is in Gaza City. We are waiting for months and months. Believe me, I came in February just to take my master's degree in September. I struggled 6 months in the United States just to pursue my dream and take my master's degree. From February till now, in the United States, just to come to 90 days. It was a good planning that I know that there will be a war in Gaza. And they will not allow me. So I came in February when there was a lull or a truce. Electricity. You know, I'm so sorry, but this is the life there. Electricity now, they have 2 hours. 2 hours. You can't imagine how we live when we have 2 hours. I mean, I can write books about how can you live in that situation. It is very horrible. You can't imagine, like, have 2 hours every day. When I was working on online study for my master's degree, I was going to cafe to spend 4 hours. To cafe, I couldn't find it in the home. And it is not allowed to have generators because the crossing is closed. Israel don't allow us, and Egypt don't allow to open the border. Why Egypt don't allow to open the border? It is in your minds. Because it is a client state. Because they have money, and you know where the money is coming from, and they have to abide by these rules. It is a structured system. Today, in 3 January 2015, just like 2 days ago, 3 kids were killed in Gaza Strip because there was no electricity, so their family brought candles in the house, and they slept. And 3 kids were killed. In the last year, we have 70 kids were killed in Gaza Strip because there is no electricity. And they have to read, as you see in the, they have to read. And the educational system in Gaza is very good, comparing to the occupation, because it is a way of self-esteem and resilience. So they were killed. And imagine their family, like, they have 3 kids and they were killed just 2 days ago. I mean, I give you the updates. So before I'm speaking about trauma, as you may know, most of you know that I lived in Iraq from 2001 to 2005. And I am humble to say I was living under the bridge for 6 months when the war started in March 2003 by the American forces. And in this time, I have to think differently. It was a life-altering for me. It was life-changing that I have to think about kids, about children. Because we don't choose to be Jewish, Muslim, or Christian. We don't choose to be rich or poor. No one asked me what would you prefer to have a name like Ayman or Saeed or Michael. No one. I don't choose to be American or Israeli or Palestinian. I am a human being by the end of the day. So I went back to Gaza and I tried to work in child protection programming and trauma healing that we have to focus on. And because we lived all of our life under occupation, we haven't seen life without killing, without detention, without curfews, without dehumanization, without demonization from the Israeli soldiers when we were kids. I can remember when the soldiers gave my father a smack. I can remember every moment. You cannot forget. It is a trauma. It is a chosen trauma. I just want to differentiate between a chosen trauma, which is in 1948. All of the Palestinians, they have historical or chosen trauma, but everyone has his own individualistic and individual trauma here. Everyone experiences different parts. So here in Gaza, imagine if the kids, they are seeing destruction. They are seeing the killing of loved ones. They have seen that in the streets. If you are in their shoes, it is a human condition. It is not because it is a human condition. If you are in their shoes, what would you think? What would you do? Look at the kids. We have 92% of ongoing trauma of traumatized kids, traumatized children in Gaza Strip. It was before the last war that I will talk about. So now imagine we have 100% of traumatized kids, and that we are working hard to mitigate the trauma repercussion and trauma healing in Gaza Strip, because war is not just 50 days. It is psychological and economic and social repercussions. So it is not just, okay, the war finished, that's it. No. I hope so. Finished and that's it. So every Palestinian child experiences more than 3 traumatic experiences in their lifetime. Believe me, if it is more than 3 times. And if anyone was in Palestine, I said, no, it is more than 3 times. But I am taking from UNICEF exact, so I will be authentic with that. But I don't believe in the number because I am insider. I am not outsider. And there's a difference in research about that. So this is my family house. It was destroyed during Operation Cast Lead in 2008, 2009. We have a house. Can you see it is asbestos? It is not cement. So it was destroyed in 2008, 2009. So after the war, there was a fluctuation of prices. So you have to rent a house outside. And I have a wife and 2 kids. So I have to rent a house, and I went to Gaza City to live to rent a house, but it was damn expensive. So I have to live with my brother, come back to my refugee camp in the middle area. They call it Deir al-Balah. Deir al-Balah, it means the chapel of palm trees. It is a Christian name for a long time. So it was destroyed, and you can't tell if someone's house was destroyed, what's gonna happen later. So-called Operation Cast-Lead, the Israeli occupation forces completely destroyed 13,000 houses, and they partially destroyed 14,000 houses according to the international statistics. And you can see the number of the people who are killed and the children who were killed in the last war, in this war. But the last war, it was most of the killings were children. That they are targeting the children, because our children will be the future of liberation of Palestine, and we are digging in their minds that Palestine will be liberated. No way. It is a human condition that we will liberate our land by any means. And I hope I have enough time. Yeah, as you can see, we have. I don't want to dig deeper, but you can ask me in the Q&A, please. We have operation. They call it operations. It is not war. It is a media. It is a war. It is a genocide. It is a genocide under the 3 article of the Geneva Convention, and it is genocide. And if it is not genocide, as it is in Rwanda, that 800,000 people were killed in a matter of 100 days, it is emotional genocide. It is killing, slow motion killings. So it is a slow motion. It is very hard sometimes. So we have Operation Cast-Lead, as I told you, in 2008, 2009, and we have Operation Pillars of Cloud. If you guys are if you want to Google it, all of these names, they have meanings, religious meanings. I encourage you to look for the these meanings. So because people try to make it holy. So we have Operation Protective Edge. In Operation Protective Edge, it lasted for more than 40 days, and it was very, very destructive. This one was very destructive. Very, very destructive. My wife got homeless and 2 kids. They should go to UNRWA school. UNRWA, United Nations Relief and Work Agency, for people who don't know about it. So in a shelter. So most of the families, we have 100,000 people who fled to UN shelter in Shija'iyya refugee camp, where the Israeli tanks were invaded the land, invaded Shija'iyya refugee camp in the eastern Gaza, in the east of Gaza Strip. So Shija'iyya refugee camp was completely razed. Houses were completely demolished. If you go back to Gaza, if you have a look about Gaza right now, you will see most of Gaza buildings are destroyed. We have now more than 18,000 completely destroyed houses, and we have more in terms of partial houses, and we have no reconstruction planning for Gaza because of the political issues, because of the Quartet Committee, for people who don't know, United Nations, USA, Russia, and British, they are promising they will fund the reconstruction in Gaza, but there is a difference between promise and commitments, and we have experience with that from the last 2 wars. We have a lot of experience with that. There's just like promise. So in this war, it was destructive, and please, if you have any question, ask me. This is the occupation, living under occupation. These are sources from Israeli media, because you may say, okay, he's Palestinian, see, he has his own subjectivity, or he has more bias to his country. And I'm very proud to be Palestinian and to fight for human rights. But that's in the Israeli media. Look, what is it like to live where warplanes thunder in the sky and the sea is off limits? People are peace builders, peace activists. We are killing people. Israel does not allow Palestinians to operate an airport or a seaport in Gaza, with severe implications for Gazan ability to travel abroad or engage in foreign trade. And I would love to hear your question in this way. So this is a question for imagination when you go home. What do you think of when you see jet fighters or drone every day? Especially drones. Zzz, you can't sleep. When you see tanks beside your house in the refugee camps, as you see, the refugee camps are very condensed, very overcrowded. When you know that every Palestinian child experiences more than 3 traumatic experiences in his life, that we are talking about hyperactivity, we are talking about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, we are talking about ACD, acute stress disorder, we are talking about ongoing trauma. That's what is working in Gaza, ongoing trauma, which is very hard for mental health practitioner to work on it because it is ongoing. There is no stop as PTSD. This, as you know, Dov Wasglas advised to Israeli Prime Minister in 2006 before, he said, look, it is structural racism. It is pedagogy of the oppressor. It is very, very important to understand the cycle of oppression. It is very critical to understand it. He said, it is like a diet. He was joking. Palestinians will lose lots of weight, but they won't die. And that's what's going on. We can die. I mean, we would love to die for our country, but it is the humanization. It is killing. Yeah, if you can see. In 2014, I was in the United States and was away from my family, and I felt so much guilty. And I tried to go home, but Egypt refused my entry into Egypt. And as you know, I can't go to West Bank because I am from Gaza. If you are from Gaza Strip, you are not allowed to go to the West Bank. And if you are from the West Bank, you are not allowed to go to Gaza Strip. I am not allowed to live in my country. It is just 20 minutes by walk to West Bank, and you can go to the West Bank, which is my country. That's why I will talk about 3 cultural compartments, 4 actually. 4 cultural compartments that we all live, and it is a policy of divide and conquer in terms of culture and identity. So this is my friend's daughter. She was killed. It is just like, you know, how old is she? He wrote for me, please, Ayman, tell people, you are here. I said, I will stand. I will say what I believe. I will stand, speak truth to power. This kid, is she terrorist? She look at, she's like an angel. I was crying when he, what I gonna do? We have to tell people, we have to grab their attention from the heart, because we are humans. If we can't work with each other, who can work with us? And in this structural neoliberalism, imperialism, hate speech, killing against human beings. For people who are interested in war zones, you have to search for meanings. A lot of the kids asked me, why me? Why me? Why God do that for us, kids? Why God? Why he chose us to be traumatized, to be killed? They ask, the kids, they are nothing. They don't know about religious commitments or something. Why us? Why me? Why me? It is like a sense. But we are trying to build their resilience. No, you have to be proud. It is a fight. It is a one battle against dehumanization, and you have to pay the price. But they said, oh, we have to pay the price every day? No, sorry, it is not our choice. So this is search for meaning. I can give you 1,000 photos in our work. Search for meaning. And if you look up in the book of David Frankel, The Search for Meaning, about his experience in Auschwitz, you can find it is the similar. I wish I have time and English capacity to write as he wrote, because it is not my native English. So this is a little girl hold her new sister who was born in UN school shelter in Gaza at the weekend. Photo taken by my wife. My wife was in the UN shelter, so she said on her cell phone, I want to take a photo with a woman. She gave birth. How would the kid like? It is like it costs $2 million. This photo for me, like it has a lot of meanings. Look at the care. For us, it is very hard job for us to make them resilient. It is give us power and strength. We will use nonviolence. We will use any way to tackle this very critical issue and to the world, because Palestine is the epicenter of the world. Believe me or not. Now I will speak in terms of trauma and mental health issues. Please, these are very distressful and emotional and not good photos. Just let me know, because I am a mental health worker. That's why I ask my friends not to bring kids. But let me move forward if you can see the photos, because they are just to respect your well-being or your emotional well-being. Yeah. So as you know, one of two of Gaza is the children, and if you can see about the soldiers here, he is laughing. He is a flasher. He is from Ethiopia. And look at the involuntary urination. He is peeing or something in English. And look about these are kids. I have thousands of photos about kids with 10 kids who are killed, and in just one funeral. And you look, these are just the most calming photos, the most easy photos. So as you know, we have a project in Gaza. We call it Let the Children Play and Heal. It is a way to address the trauma and the repercussion of the war in Gaza Strip. And this project, it has three components. I need a big presentation about it, but I will speak briefly. We have three components of the project. One is recreational therapy, which we go to the schools and we let the kids sing, and we sing, and we have clowning, and we have singing with puppets, and we have dabka, Arab folk dance. We will let them like to recreate them and to think differently. And we focus here about the kids who are introverted and the kids who are extroverted, and people who made it. Our psychologists may discover those who have PTSD or who have some emotional struggle, and we found most of the kids who are introverted, if you go to him and to him or her and ask them what's going on, how are you, in a polite way, because kids are more vulnerable to trauma. So most of them said, my father is dead, and I don't feel that I want to sing. It is not good. We are trying to encourage them, because now As you know, we have numbers and numbers of men who were killed during the war, and most of the women are orphans and don't have men to make ends meet. In our culture, it is different than the Western culture that women and men can work. Uh, so you can imagine that there is no need to talk about it more. So in the photo, if you can see, those are kids from 6 to 15 in our project. That's what we are dealing with. What is in their minds? Free drawing, we are not prejudgmental. We give them a sheet of paper and pencil, and we ask them to draw. Look at what they draw. They are more innocent than everyone. No one can tell them, especially the Palestinian kids. Look, the US flag, US gave Israel $3.1 billion per year. US in this year, they will give $660 million to Israel in addition to $3.1 billion. It means $7 million per day. Google it or calculate it. So imagine. So why kids, they knew about the US? They don't know about Russia or China. Why? Kids. I want to move forward. These are the photos. Was drawn by kids. Actually, sorry. Yeah, because there are, we go to girls' schools. They are not mixed. Yeah, but you can see in the other photos, we go to, we apply gender equality, don't worry, because it is funded by American organizations. Yeah. So those are, this professor is from Harvard Medical School, and we are cooperating to make our projects more realistic and more updated to the mental health field. And these are the girls who are working with us. One is a creative writing therapy and one is psychologist. And those are the kids, as you see. And we go with the professors who are working hard in the field in the different countries in a multicultural perspective, in transgenerational trauma, and we take from them feedbacks and suggestions for more impact in our work. Yeah, this is in one of the girls' schools. This is a part of recreational therapy, and we train them so they can dance for the other kids in the schools, because we have time limitation and funding limitations for 1 year. But we did 120 recreational show in most of the Gaza schools, which was very powerful, and that's why our project was extended to other year, and then before the war it was stopped. As you know, Gaza is very populated, and we have, as the America, they call it the nation of immigrants. People are saying for Palestine, or for Gaza especially, the nation of children. We have 52% of children in Gaza Strip. That's why in the last war, when there was war, a lot of kids were killed. We don't use family planning, actually. Sorry? Oh, yeah. We are dealing, as I said, from 7 until 15 age. So we go to secondary schools. So we don't go to teenager. Our mandate. No, I'm saying about the children, the school kids. Our project for kids from 7 until 15. Yes, I understand. Yeah. But when you gave the statistic, 52%. Oh, yeah. Under 18. Yeah, under, I'm so sorry, because it is under the international child law. I mean, yeah, under 18. Yeah, and you know, it is, our school is double shifted, that we have in the morning and we have in the afternoon. That's why it is very crowded. You can see in the photo. Right there. This is my photo before I come to the States. Yeah, it is like, it means for us victory. There's a difference between victory and peace. So there's a difference in cultures, but we mean peace and victory, inshallah. Oh, yeah. So result of the occupation, and just a brief. This is the occupation. This is the result of the occupation. This is the result of the humanization, that you are not, you don't deserve life. Look at the photo with the kids, and this is our future if we don't bring peace to Palestinians. Militarism, hate speech, just go to an Israeli media, as they are not dealing with people, as the Israeli deputy Knesset member, they are cockroachy. We have to kill them. And we have to kill their mothers also. What's is in their mentality? Or the other guy, Ayadiko, said, okay, we will expel them and we will occupy it by Jews. There is nothing named Palestine. And she don't know that 3,000 years before prophets, there were Palestinians. Before religions, actually. So psychological trauma, Palestine. I was talking about the cultural compartments that we mean we in Gaza Strip, we are culturally different from the West Bank. It means that we haven't been in touch with each other. We have, in Gaza, we have the Egyptian curriculum, educational curriculum, and in the West Bank, they have the Jordanian curriculum. So if you imagine different curriculum in just one country, and you have Palestinian who lives in so-called Israel right now, and you have Palestinian who is in exile, so you can see there are 4 cultural compartments, and sometimes you have to deal about it in social science and different ways. So what we need peace, and we need to live. We need our kids to grow up in a peaceful place. I don't want my kids to live as I lived all of my life. I don't want any soldier to give me a smack. And my kids see that I can't do anything for them. I cannot do anything for them. It is very hard for me. This is just simple. I want to live. Please. We need, I will talk about 2-state solution, the Q&A, and 1-state solution, political stuff. But let me finish, and then I will answer your questions. So Jerusalem as the capital of the Palestinian state, because we don't, believe me, it is our struggle. Jerusalem will be our capital. We will not allow, even if any collaborator or spying government, anyone, we will not allow Palestine without Jerusalem, because it has nothing. Jerusalem for us, it is not a building. We can ask a multimillionaire to buy us, to build for us a Dome of the Rock as it is in Jerusalem, but it is not. It has a symbol of life. It has an identity. Fair solution of the refugees issue according to UN resolution, you know, 1994, 194, and 882. It is like you cannot, people in Lebanon, like we have refugees in Lebanon, and they are not allowed to work because they are refugees. And in Egypt, they are dehumanized because you have to go to your country. But you can't go to your country. I am here for 6 months. I cannot go to my own country. If you are a Jewish, if you are Israeli, you can in one day you can claim citizenship. But I live there, and my family and my wife and 2 kids there. I can't go to where I am. They will not allow me on board to go to my own country. This is like something you cannot imagine. Why? And everyone is fighting you. But that's give us a meaning that we will do our best to liberate our lands and to grow our kids on resilience. And that's meaning. That's meaning. It gives you meaning. Be strong. Even sometimes you cannot. So this is peace, and if you can see in the background. Thank you very much, and please, I would be very happy to answer all of your questions, and please ask the difficult question as you have, and I would be very interested to hear you. Thank you.
I was wondering, how is it that you were able to get out of Gaza and be here in the United States?
So do you need the answer in 2 minutes? Yeah. I got accepted in the International Trauma Treatment Program in Olympia, Washington. So I took 3-month crash course in trauma healing with different therapies by U.S. Trauma practitioners in Washington University. And then I came here, and then I applied to take my master's degree in conflict resolution. And after taking my the first year, I changed to intercultural service leadership and management. How I came here, I was, as I told you in the PowerPoint, I stayed 3 months to get out of Gaza Strip. It was very hard, but I have to mention here when we get into Egypt, we were in a small detention center because we are Palestinian and we are not allowed to go to Cairo. And believe me, in this detention center for our brothers and sisters in humanity, we don't have a bathroom. And in this bathroom, it's stinky, and you don't have water. And please, I want bread, I want cigarettes. People are Palestinian, they smoke cigarettes. This is their coping mechanisms. So what are you gonna do? You have to bribe them 10 Egyptian pounds. Is it helpful, the answer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, yeah.
And did you say you can't go back to Gaza? You can't go to your country?
Yeah. I tried in August to go back to Gaza because I felt guilty and I have to be with my wife and kids because the house was destroyed twice. So I found, okay, I don't care about master's degree. I care about my kids. They are my most priority. I went to Boston 3 times. I changed my flight 4 times. And I lost $1,000 changing my flights in that time for a student who were trying to have a penny in his pocket. And they didn't allow me on board. Why? Because Egyptian authorities told all of the borders, all of the airliners, if you allow Palestinian from Gaza on board, that means that we will return them back. Some like Lufthansa and some Air France, they tried to, okay, they have a ticket, come on board. They took them to Egypt, to Cairo International Airport, and they returned them back. So the Lufthansa or the airliner must pay the money, so they stopped that. That's the history of it. So this give you a meaning that you, for me, because I am a teacher of positive psychology, this gives me meaning to pursue my goals, which is very hard and very challenging, and to go everywhere And you will find people who want to listen to you, who want to hear you. Because it is a struggle for human rights, believe me. Palestine, it is not because you are Palestinian or Muslim or Christian or Jewish. It is a human rights issue. It is not because you are Palestinian. I was advocating against, the Rwanda genocide in 1994. It is genocide, it is a human rights. And it is altruism born of suffering, because you feel the suffering. I've been in Iraq. We don't have food to eat in that time under the bridge. We are kids, like 19 years old, like 1 year international law of a child, 18 years. We are 19. We have no family. We have no kids. We have nothing there. How we survived. So we came to the United States and we will not survive. It is a powerful state, you know. Is it helpful? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your moving talk. I have two questions. One is, you mentioned that you were trained in various kinds of trauma healing for 3 months. Is there a model of trauma healing that the schools in or the project in Gaza embraces? Is there a certain kind of trauma therapy, trauma healing that is embraced?
Yeah,
That's
actually,
the first question.
Before I come to the United States, I created the project without knowing about deep psychology. I mean, it was like you have to do that for kids. But when I came to the States and I told them about what we have done, said it is expressive art therapy. We are taking master's degree here, and they wrote for me to take a master's degree in expressive arts. And we did that, collage, stuff like that with kids without knowing about psychology. I mean, I was reading psychology, but I haven't read, like, I don't have a bachelor degree in psychology. I like to read psychology, understanding the self. But in terms of your question, I want to give you a background because to understand. In terms of here in the States, they have tapping solution. They have solution-focused brief therapy. They have mindfulness. They have massaging therapy. They have internal family system model therapy. But all of these, they have some cultural bounds. Like massaging, you cannot do it in Palestine because it is something related to religion or to cultural understanding. So in terms of the internal family system model, because it is like take 1 hour, there are some differences. I cannot talk about it here. But you can do what you want if you can adapt it to the culture and to the frame of reference in Palestine, because it is different. Any trauma practitioners can come to Palestine and he can practice, but he should understand 3 things: frame of reference, the identity, the collective identity, because it is occupied for a long time, and they must understand what people can take out after it. So this is trauma therapy, and it is very hard to have an outsider lens and to change it to insider lens, because you have your own prejudice, you have your own thinking, you have your own thinking paradigm. So it is too much. I mean, but there are some people who are doing a great job. Yeah.
I just have a second question.
Yeah, please,
I'm
go ahead.
wondering if there's any, I don't know whether to call it a movement or an awareness about adults working with the children healing themselves from their own trauma.
Yeah. So I want to paraphrase your question, because it is not my first language. You said how kids can work by themselves, by their own. That's what you mean?
No, I was just really thinking of the problem of adults who have been traumatized themselves, trying to help kids who are traumatized. Is there an awareness of that? Are adults working on healing themselves, on trauma healing for themselves, while working with the kids.
I
or
understand
before
your
working.
question, but actually I don't have an answer to it. Because if I really want, I understand the linguistic way of your question, but how it goes, like a teenager adults who have been traumatized can heal traumatized kids. I think it is culture thing that it is resilience, and people are telling other kids that it is a fight, it is a struggle for human rights, and that's what they help. But sometimes, especially in war, especially after with kids, that I am experienced in it, so I can talk about it to be authentic. From 2006 until now, we have 3 wars. So if you have a guy who is 7 years old who experienced 3 wars and who experienced siege. So look, imagine his mentality, how it goes. They are very smart. Don't take it another way. They are very smart. But how they think and how they see the world, because it is the value formation age. It is the value formation age. So as we are adults, no, we are I am teenager or adult. I am adult. We are helping them, like I am helping my kids also to be more resilient. Is it helpful? It is the...
What I'm asking is, maybe I can be more specific. Like, do you do healing on yourself as an adult? You know,
Yeah, I mean...
because the adults have been traumatized also.
Yeah, there is a spiritual healing. You can listen to Quran. People listen to Quran, the Islamic book, when they are very stressed out, and can be a relief for them. And people listen sometimes to music to heal themselves. There are some traditional healings, but scientifically, they are not authentic, and they are not, sometimes they are not working. That's people use spiritual and traditional healing, and there are tens of traditional healings. Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. Your talk has been powerful. I'm feeling very emotional just having heard you. But I once was at a talk by a psychiatrist named Derek Summerfield, who had dealt with victims of torture and victims of oppression in Rwanda. And in a question and answer, I asked him about post-traumatic stress and healing post-traumatic stress. And almost angrily, he said to me, "Don't psychologize injustice." He said, "You are wondering if psychology can make people feel better while the injustice is still oppressing them." And I shrunk very small. And so I wanted to know, and I know there's not an answer, but I wanted to understand, how does the continued presence of the injustice affect your efforts at healing the trauma?
Thank you for encouragement, and thank you for mentioning something about Rwanda also, because we studied Rwanda trauma healing, because it is very distressful. As I mentioned, we are dealing with ongoing trauma, that it is not stopped. And that's very hard also to work on it. Injustice everywhere. I want to take the quotation of Martin Luther King: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." But it comes like, so it is injustice. And that's what you give, like you have too many issues. Like, it is not about just the war in itself. It is about psychologically you are besieged. No one in Gaza who want to travel, who have money to travel, who have a business in Egypt or in the US, But people are psychologically besieged. They cannot move. They cannot move. That's why I call it in my presentation, it is a Warsaw Ghetto. People are, I cannot go to the West Bank. I cannot go to Jerusalem where I dream. I can come from Washington State to Washington, D.C. But I cannot go to just 1 hour by driving to. So we are psychologically besieged. That's, and the injustice. We are trying to help the kids and the children and everyone that don't normalize oppression. Because people want it, it's a second nature. Okay, that's it. I mean, that we are trying to help them not to don't normalize oppression. You have to stand up and to have to say things as they are. It is not easy. They will give you a hard time, and I have my own hard time. Melinda knew about it. Yeah, but you have to say things as they are. Injustice. As one of the Israeli authors said, justice will not bring peace. He said for us as Palestinians, justice will not bring peace. So guys, let's think less than justice. Let's think less than justice. He is one of the, yeah, less than justice. So we have a struggle for our justice, and I believe, as I saw you, as I'm seeing you, that we will regain our justice, our self-determination, which is in the second article in the American Constitution about self-determination. In the US Constitution, go over it. It is one of the most, in the second article about self-determination, and in 1947, the United States State Department of Near East, he said that the creation of Israel is against the moral and national values of the United States. In there is a book against our better judgment for Alison Ware. You can read it and you can see documentation. It was written with referencing. It is a research. It is not like someone who's writing from his mind. So is it helpful? Alison Ware in her book.
She wrote the book, and who's the quote from? Who's the quote from again? Okay, yeah.
Against our better judgment. And yeah, if you are willing to read later, I have also 3 books. If you because you are writing, there is a book for Chris Hedges. A war is a force that gives us meaning. I recommend you to read it and to understand, and Google his articles. We have also, you can go to Ori Afneri, Israeli peace activist, and look, or Gideon Levy. There are a lot. You can Google it. Amira Hass. I mean, there are a lot, but just Google it. We have internet now. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to New Mexico and sharing the stories of your work and your community with us. I'm wondering about, as a grad student who knows a little bit about some of the realities here in our country, where Black communities and Native communities and definitely children in immigrant detention centers experience that similar rate of PTSD or trauma, right? Where we see, documented 90% of children being diagnosed with PTSD. And I guess I'm wondering is, have you been able to, what have you most connected with in terms of the programs that are working with children to address a trauma here in the United States that you have learned that you might be able to implement back in Gaza? Because I think of amazing programs that work with kids around hip hop or poetry or things maybe that you aren't currently doing. So is there anything that you've learned about from some of the programs that are working with kids here in the US and any of the communities that I mentioned that maybe you can adapt, you think, back in Gaza?
It is actually a good question, and it comes to the core. There is a difference. Western psychology, DSM-5 right now, if you are familiar, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health, the last version, the fifth version, they are talking about how to heal PTSD, ongoma, stress-related disorder, but these are Western way of healing. These are Western way of healing. Yes, we can adapt. I was in Washington State. I took 3 months a crash course in Olympia, Washington, about trauma healing, but I cannot do what I learned. So I have to adapt. And that's why we are adapting. We are taking the terminologies, we are taking the definition, we are taking what does it mean, and how to adapt that. But we adapt that according to research, according to needs assessment, according also to PIST analysis, which means political, environmental, social, and political understanding of where your way. So there are a lot of adaptation, how to adapt, but it is very critical actually, because sometimes you are dealing with a set formula, like something like logical frame that you have to abide by. So no, there is adaptation. I succeeded. I wrote a project, let the children practice their rights, because when I came to the United States, I felt there is a lot of human rights comparing to where I live. So I created a project that can foster human rights and can build, don't normalize oppression, colonialism, imperialism. Don't let anyone dehumanize you. You believe, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to be. That's why we are adapting. It is not an easy-going job. It is not an easy job, but we are doing our best. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we need to have that research, the evidence-based research, but at the same time, our communities are doing amazing things and have been for generations to deal with trauma. And so I think there's really incredible ways that we can connect with each other.
I think, as you mentioned, every culture has its uniqueness, and they have their own way of healing. And when you find in mental health research, especially in mental health research also, you have to take it as from individual, indigenous research. It is not academic research, because it talks about feelings, talks about emotions, talks about the primitive mind and the higher mind, and how they are connected to each other. So we can go to, so it is how your mind was built, how your mind was shaped. So I can bring an international experienced guy in mental health, but he will not understand how I grow up, how about my historical flashbacks, about how I perceived. Even if I give him a route, he will not feel it. That's the hard part.
Do you think that boycott and divestment movement of Israel is the most effective means for people in the United States to fight for justice for the Palestinian people?
I think it is one way. BDS is just one way. It is economic boycott, but there is academic boycott. There's a moral boycott. This is, for me, it is very important to tell them you are wrong. What you are doing to a human being, it is very wrong. There is no justification to kill 2,000 people and 1,400 kids. There is no justification. And absolutely, building on your question, I will take the opportunity. I can say for you, write for the persons, write for them every day, write opinion letters, write editorial letters, do your best, do your part in humanity. I can't tell you, but I believe every one of you, because it is your culture, it is your surrounding, you know how to mitigate the dehumanization for other people. You know how it goes. It is not my own culture. I can say for you, okay, write for congresspersons. I don't know if they will read it or not. I mean, but what I can say, stay to the moral values and fight against any oppression for any human being, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Everything is connected to everything else, and we are living our life, and we are trying to mitigate any kind of oppression.
Okay, one more question.
And a question, definitely. Okay, first of all, when you talked about the colonial situation and the dehumanization, the reference that went through my mind was Frantz Fanon and Wretched of the Earth, when people turn that negativity and hostility inward as opposed to outward. Okay, the question or the comment and question is, you made some references to the Holocaust, and to me it is just so horrendous that I see so many parallels in terms of what the Palestinians are facing and in terms of what the Jewish people faced in their experience. I guess I was wondering how, I mean, if you see any sort of psychological principles operating on the part of the Israelis, in addition to all the other aspects, the colonialism, the suppression, economic gain from the territories, and that type of thing, do you see also psychological principles in lay terms like the victim turned victimizer? And then also, just one little addendum, and that is that I also wonder in terms of trauma types of healing for some of the Israelis who are committing these horrendous acts. That's it.
Thank you for your question. It is very powerful question for me. And I will ask it frankly. There is a book, I will not give you a lot of books. There's a book, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, for Paul Freire. The Pedagogy of the Oppressed. And it is a cycle. People who were oppressed, they are now oppressors. And Israel is very afraid that will be the next oppressors. And it is a psychological cycle. It is the answer for your question. People are afraid. You know, when Israel kill 2,000 people, don't say they are very strong. Even if they are lying to the American Washington News, New York Times, corporate media, but they are afraid inside. They are afraid. It is the sense of oppression. And I encourage you to read The Pedagogy of the Oppressed for Paul Freire when it comes to the oppressor, to the oppressed, how he become oppressor and how they believe, how they are acting in, acting out. Yeah, is there any, please go ahead, yeah.
All right. Ahlan, shukran. Thank you for everything. It really means a lot. And especially for me as a Palestinian from the West Bank and in the diaspora, it's amazing to be in this present and in the same room as a brother from Gaza, because like you said, it's very difficult for Palestinians from the West Bank and in Gaza to see each other and visit. So inshallah, one day in a liberated Palestine, we'll be able to visit each other's homes and everything.
Thank you very much.
I just want to make a quick comment for everybody in this room. You know, Ayman's presentation was, you know, very powerful. And how, you know, when we listen to these things, how do we turn that power into action? There are many groups here in Albuquerque who are doing active work towards bringing awareness, advocating, and also trying to dismantle the system that supports this, right? Like boycott, divestment, and sanctions. So we have Jewish Voice for Peace in the room, Friends of Sibyl Albuquerque, and Students for Justice in Palestine, Coalition to Stop 30 Billion to Israel. And there's, you know, I see a lot of familiar faces, but I also see a lot of new faces. So we welcome you on board on the road towards justice for Palestinians. And yeah, thank you again, Ayman, shukran, and welcome back. You can come back anytime.
And you are welcome. And
Thank you.
And I felt at home, actually. I love New Mexico. I've been the last year, and I have good friends. I have seen like Sui and those two friends. And I am very proud that I came here, and I swear by God, by every nature, by any God you believe in, that I speak from my heart to you. And that's what's going on. And I can send you my PowerPoint. If any word that it is not wrong, it is wrong, say you are bullshit. That's it. Because it is from my heart, I want to speak from my heart to you. I can't speak from my mind, and we can go to mental health stuff or mind, so we will be crazy by the end of the day. So I just try to make it very simple, and to your hearts goes direct to your heart.
Thank you very much, Ayman. If any of you would like to stay and have an informal chat with Ayman, that's great. There's more food, so please eat up all the food. And there is a donation jar that all of you put some money in. If you would like to add a little bit more, this will help Ayman take a non-paid internship in Washington, D.C., which he is trying to accomplish in a few weeks. So if you can find it in your pocketbooks to give a little bit more, please put it in the donation pot next to Iris. Thank you very much for coming. And again, you signed up. We'll be in contact with you. This room represents at least 4 different activist groups working on this issue. So thank you all for coming.
And write checks directly to Ayman Nijim, Nijim.
I'd like to add one more thing. This event would not have been possible if it wasn't for a mover and a shaker named Melinda Smith, who almost single-handedly put it together very last minute. Thank you, Melinda.
Oh, well, I was actually going to thank Sue. And Sheila and Mike. And thanks everybody for contributing and the very last minute hastily put together.